Sorry, Representative Owens.
No, I'm just Doug Owens. Give me a few months. Give me a month.
My name is Nora Al-Kishali. I am a student at Salt Lake Community College. According to the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the United States is the only advanced economy in the world that does not offer mandatory paid sick or maternity leave. Where do you stand on paid maternity and sick leave?
Thank you for that question. So I don't know if you could hear that. Where do I stand on paid maternity and sick leave? You know, I've seen the business perspective for a long time, and job creation is my number one issue, to kind of getting back to kind of the wage that people can raise a family on. So I want to cover that first. And so right now I think that's too much for the economy to take. I think we need to make sure we get back to the kind of jobs we can raise families on before we go to more paid benefits like that. So I don't support that at the moment. Thank you.
Doug, right now polls are showing you behind. Do you feel like you did enough to close the gap in the race tonight?
Glenn, those polls were done before most of the media campaign and before the debate. Yeah, I think we moved the needle tonight. And I think that if the issues get out there, if we get our word out there, I'll win.
You spent a lot of time talking about mailers. Is that the most important issue right now in the 4th District? Is there something that you would like to have gotten to tonight that you didn't?
There's a lot of important stuff. Yeah, we could have talked about immigration. We talked about energy. There's other extremely important issues to me that are the reason I'm running. I do feel that if my opponent saw fit to spend $300,000 of taxpayer money to clearly promote herself, those are not like the other representatives' mailers in the state, that's worth pointing out to voters. I think it's an important issue.
Will you use like half of your time on gun violence to talk about mailers? Can you talk about why you chose to use your time on mailers again?
Well, I thought I got my message out on gun violence, which is an important one. My brother's in law enforcement. I want everybody to go home. Everybody in law enforcement to go home safe to their children. But my opponent had taken a parting shot, and I tried to get extra time and couldn't. So I felt like I would use up some of that time. I do think it's an important issue for voters to know about. When my opponent has it in her power to spend taxpayer money, and that's how she did it, I think voters ought to know about that. Almost 3 times the rest of the delegation put together.
Is this the last debate?
As far as I know, I would certainly agree to more, but my opponent hasn't. One and only.
Did you do what you needed to do tonight, do you feel?
I feel like I got the message out, Lisa. Yeah. There's some other important issues that we didn't address, but I felt like the core of why I'm running, jobs that'll support a family, and getting Congress working again, I feel like those important things, the reasons why I'm running, yeah, I think they came out.
Why didn't you endorse Hillary Clinton?
Because I got so many disagreements with her. Because that's not why I'm running. Because I'm running for Utah. I will work with the president of either party when they're doing what's right for Utah, and I'll hold them accountable no matter which party they are from if they're doing what's wrong for Utah. That's what's wrong back there. You know, I've got a lot of disagreements: guns, education, and Obamacare. You know, there's important stuff I disagree. To me, this is not about what the presidential is about. This is about doing what's right for Utah.
What do you think about Donald Trump?
I have grave reservations about the things that he has said. I think people know. I don't need to rehearse all that. That's not why I'm running.
Do you think that will help Democrats in Utah?
I have no idea. I have no idea what that's going to do. I think it's unprecedented territory. It's unprecedented toxicity. I'm just keeping my nose to my grindstone, making sure I meet every voter I can.
But if he's elected, you could work with Donald Trump as president?
I would have to. If he was doing what's right for Utah, I'd work with him, and I'd hold him accountable if he wasn't.
So
It's very simple for me.
A big topic from Donald Trump's campaign.
Immigration?
Yeah, deporting almost 11 million undocumented families, people. So what's your stance on immigration? It wasn't clear on the debate. So
I'll tell you what I think about immigration. We could have a secure border. We could have a system that makes sure that people don't overstay visas. We could have humane reform that keeps families together. We could give people a shot at coming out of the shadows. We could give people a shot at being full-fledged participants in the American economy. We could have all those things if the Congress would get back to work. Right now, there's a bipartisan bill sitting in both houses. It's been around for 3 years. It's got the support of both parties, and they're totally broken, and it won't work. It won't go. So the solutions are obvious, and the problem is obvious because Congress has been a roadblock on everything. So we can have humane, comprehensive immigration reform if the parties will get together and work together.
Can you give me an example of a bill that you support or that you're trying to support in the future that will not fix this issue but help these undocumented families here in Utah?
Well, Senator Hatch co-sponsored legislation a couple of years ago that passed out of the Senate, comprehensive bipartisan immigration reform that did provide not only for a secure border, not only for people overstaying visas to take care of that problem, but also made sure that people had a pathway to legal status and after they paid a penalty. I support that bill. The solutions sometimes are painfully obvious, but the ability to get to them is what the problem is. And I hope I'm bringing a better way to this system where people can work together. I've seen it in my father's era, and I believe we can get back to it.
How are you going to get back to a system of bipartisan cooperation in the environment we're in now with the presidential race, creating so much negativity and so much distrust of government among people?
It's going to take time to get over it. I can tell you I've tried to convey what lies at the core of my being and what I've done this as a lawyer. I've gotten people who were at each other's throats in a conference room, and by the end of the day we found enough detail, we found enough common ground, we could build a compromise. I think I can bring that skill better than anybody in this race for sure, and in the delegation here. I believe that's the path forward. I believe that the ethics reforms that I've introduced would go a long way toward getting us there, but I think it's a fundamental core who you are. I think you heard who my opponent was, fundamentally caught up in those kind of toxic national politics that I don't agree with. I think we got to put Utah first, and that remembering who sent us there, working for our districts at home, that will enable us to find the common ground rather than getting hung up on national party politics, people yelling from the fringes instead of finding what's in the common center. You know, I have great faith if we will take the obvious steps that the next thing will open up to us.
You talk about working across the aisle, thinking about immigration. If there's a popular proposal on the other side of the aisle to build a big border wall, would you vote for a comprehensive immigration bill that included a massive border wall with Mexico?
I certainly support comprehensive reform that includes making sure we have a secure border. I do want to have a legal immigration process and not an illegal immigration process. The military authorities tell us that there are real issues with immigration in certain spots along the border where it's not only immigration, there's a drug importation problem. There are sections of the border where I think a wall makes sense. Most of it, I don't think it makes sense. But it certainly would be part of comprehensive immigration reform that ensures we have a secure border.
One more question?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.